slate. Just to want to give you guys, everybody, like a little, we've talked about it on some other shows, but we've got a bunch of new packages up on our, if you just literally go to our home screen and if you're not a member and try and log in, we've got a bunch of great packages up that we think are really, really valuable before the NFL season. We're making some changes to the site, so bear with us as we go through. Some of the pages may not look quite right. Some things might look a little strange, but we're just trying to improve things every day, and we should have it much more functional by mid to the end of next week. So everything's working. It's just a matter of how well it looks. But I had another decent day yesterday. Did exactly what I talked about on air, and one in baseball, one a little bit in football. So good start. Sheets, did you have you had dinner in the city? I think. How was the night?
Yeah, dinner was a lot better than the DFS results, which that happens most of the time because dinners are almost always good. And DFS results are usually not good. You know what I mean? So it takes a good night in DFS to be better than like a really, really good meal. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So as far as DFS goes, I think I eked out a tiny profit in baseball, lost in football. I just basically fired like 75 entries in the lottery, in the football, and I didn't get the right combination there. And just a couple of updates. I did post the MMA DFS breakdown yesterday, and I'm doing the betting breakdown right after this actually. And I also put up a pretty long video about my approach to the circa against the spread pool, which I'm going to be doing every week. I didn't know where to put it, so I just put in NFL as far as where to go on the site. If there's a separate one for sports betting, maybe it can go there. I don't think we have one though.
Yeah, we're working on that. There's a lot of other things we got to get to, but
I'm just letting people know. And quite honestly, if I do a recording, it's going to be on the YouTube channel, so you can always if you like and subscribe over there, you're going to see everything. But I think might have posted a link in the Discord. I usually tweet those types of things also, and just staying sharp with the different disciplines out there. And Survivor, I mean, like the football season's going to be pretty it's going to be pretty hairy. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different disciplines. Can I tell you, if you're interested, there's another pool that I'm in, football wise. If you want to try this, so it's fantasy Survivor pool. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what you have to do is every week you make like a fantasy lineup, and I forgot, it's either 2 quarterbacks or 2 running backs, wide receiver, whatever it is. And they start off with, say, a couple hundred people, and the bottom like 10% like get eliminated. Okay, so all you have to do is beat like 90%, but you can't use the same players more than once during the season.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you have to just, once again, like, push stuff out as much as possible. And
right.
Like for example, like there's like a guy this week that's like never going to be chalky, that never going to be out there. Let's say Kenny Walker is out, right? Kenneth Walker is out, and it very well might be. And that guy comes in, whatever, and it's like the only time he's playable like the whole season, right? It'd be a time to play him, but yet he's going to be 90% owned. So it's interesting. We can talk about that as well, because that was another.
That's really interesting, actually. Yeah.
So we'll go over that. I think listen, we could put our entry in. I mean, I'm doing it anyway. We can put our entry up until Sunday. So maybe maybe tomorrow. Weekend. Maybe we'll talk about it. But anyway,
a little bit though.
In any case, there's a lot going on, and baseball continues to press on. And as Bobby mentioned, he's back on track. Took a little, I don't want to say hiatus, but a little break. Let's put it that way. And you're back with seeing the board a little bit better, getting some bankroll stabilizing results. You know what I mean? Like you haven't really won zillions yet, but you start off with stuff like that, and the next thing you know, it's going to be that Bobby night where it's a 14-game slate and he somehow gets the nuts. So maybe. Who knows? Maybe it's tonight. Let's so we can start.
Absolutely. Well, let's go game by game. Why don't you start off the first one, because we have some weather concerns here, and we might need the Mrs. Sheets weather forecast here.
Yes. So it actually is. It's sort of fragile. But I do think that it's not going to be like a washout type night. You know, you might get an isolated thunderstorm here and there or whatever. But from what I'm hearing, it's not something that could wash out the whole game. But, you know, it's certainly worth considering as a possibility. Now, with that said, it is hot, that I promise you. And you have the same thing that we kind of talked about yesterday about you have this low priced, well projected Yankee, right? And who has had a very, very disappointing season, to say the least. And we dealt with this with Carlos Rodon yesterday, and he got torched. Okay, for what seems like the 80th time. And I was mentioning Severino. He has put together a couple of good games recently. He had a good game against Washington. He had a really good game against Detroit. So maybe he's turning it around a little bit. Then obviously not such a great game against Houston. But I mean, the good thing is that even though he gave up 4 runs, whatever it is, they did let him go 104 pitches. Okay, and also the other day, Clark Schmidt, they let him go like 100 pitches, I think, for the first time this season. So I don't know exactly what the Yankees do. They're obviously not playing for anything really, but maybe they're just giving these guys innings. So if you have like Severino with 100 pitches, it's kind of a tough fade if you want to know the truth at 5,500. So I have him as one of the top, well, definitely probably the top point per dollar play, but one of the better options in here. And I'll tell you, the ownership doesn't make sense to me. I thought he would be like really, really chalky. I only see him at 15%. That's got to go higher, I imagine. I don't have Colin Ray really on my list. And aside from that, I'm not. Well, you know what? I'm seeing the Yankees a little bit. Listen, I have 2 teams that are like probably well ahead of everybody else, but I have the Yankees in that second, I guess, tier of teams. So I'll put the Yankees in as possibles, and Severino is probably a really strong play.
Yep. He has looked better. I think that this is going to probably end up being a stay away game for me anyway. And I get that there's, a little bit of interest in I mean, I have some interest in Severino, some interest in Ray, but if there's any concern at all weather-wise, I'm not going to do anything.
Yep.
And that's pretty much all I have in this game. I just have a little bit of interest in both pitchers. It feels like every time I start a show of any kind, I get 500 messages about the site that need to be answered right away, and it drives me nuts. I just want to give that out there because I'm getting that happening right now. so anyway, we'll move on to the next one.
It can wait for 40 minutes.
The problem is that when you don't have everybody else's time until later, they don't have any time after 10:30, so it's just a little tricky. Anyway, all right. So Dodgers and Washington. Cheats, will you start it off? I'll jump in. I'll jump right in. Oh, I love the.
Yeah, this is like a kind of a pitching wise, kind of battle of the prospects here. Gore and Sheehan. I am not getting to either of them in early projections. With respect to the hitting, I imagine that the Dodgers are going to look like a decent pivot off of the top options. They're not actually rating that well for me for some reason. They're also rating to be pretty low owned. I don't know exactly what's going on here. I think there must be something wrong, not wrong, but something about the projections that are keeping them low projected and low owned. So I had to take a look at that. But I think the Dodgers are literally always in play. So I'm gonna continue to say the Dodgers are in play even if they're not. How about that?
They're definitely in play.
And Washington, I'm not really. I never get to them on raw points. Let me see if they look like a good value here. Not really. So I'm not really getting to Washington. I'm really not getting to anything in this game, but I'll probably end up forcing some Dodgers in.
Yep, I'm going to force in the Dodgers. As I mentioned, they were my favorite way to get different yesterday. That certainly worked out really well. It worked out well enough to where you could play Rodon and finish and almost still win tournaments. So I like the Dodgers. I do think that they struggle occasionally with lefties, and they're not the number one, but I think that they're going to be low enough owned where I can take a shot with them. And it's Washington. It's great hitting weather, huge stadium upgrade for them, and not really getting to anything else. I don't think I'm going to play Sheehan today, but I'm open to the idea of it. I just personally probably end up he probably ends up on the outside for me. So that's realistic. That's the realistic thoughts. Okay, so next one, Miami, Philadelphia. Go ahead, Chiefs.
Yep. I'm not really getting too much of anything here. I imagine that Perez would be, Philly's tough. I don't know. So I'm not really getting too much here. I'm not getting to any of the pitchers. I'm not cracking my top 10 at all. As far as the hitting goes, yeah, I guess you know what? I do have the Phillies as one of the secondary options here, and they're looking to be pretty low owned also. So I definitely like Philly here as an option, especially in GPPs. But aside from that, not much in this game. So let's say Phillies or not.
I don't know what I want to do here. I'm sort of struggling with it a little bit. Like I feel like it's probably going to end up another one that I don't end up getting heavily invested in. But I'm definitely open to the Phillies here, and I might need to rethink it a little bit. But I also have a little bit of respect for Perez. I don't know. I'm sort of all over the place, which probably on a bigger slate means stay away. But there aren't that many things that I'm like in love with. I'm probably going to consider the Phillies by the end of the day, but not overly high on my list at the moment. All right. Next up, which one do you have next up?
I have Kansas City, Toronto next.
Yeah, that's right. 707. All right.
So I have Kikuchi as the top-rated pitcher on the slate right now. I have him rated as the top-owned pitcher on the slate right now, and that's usually the kind of the way it works. 8,200, decent point per dollar play. KC is usually a team that we like to target, play pitchers against. So yeah, I definitely like that. As far as the hitting goes, now I don't want to play Marsh, the long relief, or anything like that. I would imagine that Toronto would be an option here, but again, it's weird. I'm not really getting to them quite yet. So for me, it just really looks like kind of a boring Kikuchi or nothing game.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I'm at as well, unfortunately. So I think that we should. I mean, should we be playing some of the Blue Jays here? Like, I don't know. I think I'm going to play the Blue Jays. I like Kikuchi a lot, and I like the Blue Jays. So that's where I'm at here, and I just need to weigh them versus my other teams, because I was kind of trying to wait till we did it, but sort of like I think I'm going to end up having them pretty high. I want to just wait till the end till I really figure it out, but I think that they're going to be low enough owned. It's going to be kind of a bullpen game. Yeah, I think I'm still okay with the Blue Jays here. So I have Toronto behind the Dodgers, but I do have them as a good stack. So, all right. Next up, we have Baltimore. You have Baltimore and sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the different times here. Baltimore and Boston. What do you like here, Sheets?
Yeah, so I have Baltimore as one of the top options on the slate, literally right alongside of Atlanta. Yeah, I have them almost significantly ahead of these other teams, with the exception of Atlanta. So that's, I guess, my first real strong take of the day. Now, again, this is not going to be earth shattering. I actually have Baltimore as the highest owned team right now also. We'll see how that works out, but good park, good hitters, good everything.
It's still really low ownership. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any real, like, it doesn't seem like there's mega chalk if that's the case. Because I'm looking at it right now. You don't have anybody above.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, so it's not like they're not chalky, but they're not chalk, but they're chalky. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they're going to be low owned. It's going to part of a whole group of teams that are going to get ownership, I guess. But I do like Baltimore. As I kind of feared the other day, I'd rather have Baltimore against lefties, but whatever. Houck sucks. I'll take my chances. So I like Baltimore, and I'm not getting to any of the pitching. I just want to double check, make sure I don't really want to play Boston as well. Now I have them a little kind of secondarily. So I do like Baltimore. So far, my top option.
Yeah, I have Baltimore, but I have them a little bit lower than you do. I have them just a tiny bit behind the Dodgers and Toronto, actually. I think I have them basically even with Toronto. But I do like them quite a bit, and it's a really good lineup that you can stack a lot of different ways. So even if there was some semblance of chalk, which I don't think it's going to be chalky enough to where we have to worry too much about it. Right. But if you did want to, you have many different ways you can stack it. I don't even know what kind of we'll see what lineup they actually release today, because I'm kind of curious. You've got like different sites projecting different things about Austin Hayes being in. So wait till you see the line, and other sites with Austin Hayes out. Just wait till you see the lineup. But I do think this is a really good spot to attack. Obviously, 81 degrees in Boston with 11-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left. Really good spot to attack. And I'm not getting to any Boston, but I certainly wouldn't fault you if you did. I just like Bradish too much. So
I mean, you can't even realize this. I mean, you get Henderson and Rushman are both freaking switch hitters. Then you get Mullins and Santander. This is I don't know what I was thinking about, like worrying about not playing him against a lefty or something, a righty or whatever. So I don't know. I like these four, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so let's see. Yeah, we got Pittsburgh, Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta, as usual, is going to project to be, if not the top, one of the top on the slate. I don't have them rated that much higher than Baltimore, for whatever that's worth. Maybe because, again, like Keller's serviceable. You know, he'll you know, he's not bad. He can pitch a decent game from time to time. And I don't know. Maybe I would just prefer to do something else.
He's not bad, but the truth is, for most of the season, he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. He just had a bad.
Well, there you go. Okay, well,
nice. Yeah,
even better. So, and even the last 4 games, like all over 20 fantasy points. So, I don't think I need to play Atlanta today, but they're certainly going to project pretty well. And I don't think I want to play Keller. I definitely don't want to play. Do I definitely not want to play Elder? I currently don't want to play Elder. And as far as Pittsburgh, I'm really not getting to them. So, you know what? Why don't you talk me into playing Keller? Because I could probably be talked into it. I don't want to, but if you tell me that that's something you might do, I might consider it. That's where I'm going to leave you with the analysis.
The only reason I would consider it is because there's not that many pitchers I like on this slate. He's back to being really good after going through a middle of the season where he was bad and a beginning season he was great. He's the third highest average scoring pitcher on the slate. And he's probably a little cheap for his average score. It is Atlanta, though, in good hitting weather, and I just don't really think you need to go that far. I think the better thing would be just to play Elder. I don't love that either, but I think that there's more safety, and honestly, I don't really have a lot of interest in either of them. I actually think that the Braves, when they're hard to get to or when people aren't going to get to them, I'm always going to have interest, and I don't expect the Braves to be especially high owned today. I do like Keller as a pitcher, but just because it's Atlanta, I'm going to definitely get some Braves in there. I have them, not rated as high, but I like the idea of forcing them in when other people aren't going to play them as much. And I currently have only Acuna as the only person over 10% owned. If that's the case, you can sign me up to always be a part of the Atlanta thing, basically almost whoever's pitching. But it is worth noting Keller's the third highest scoring pitcher on the slate for the season, behind Snell and Senga, and not by much. He's a very good pitcher. And I also think, though, on the other side, I think you're going to get some ownership on Pittsburgh. Well, Bay is going to have some ownership, I guess I should say, assuming that he leads off. The value of Pittsburgh is interesting. So I actually think this whole game is mildly interesting as maybe not a game stack, but there's pieces like Sawinski, 3,500 is reasonable. Connor Joe at 3,300. I don't mind Brian Reynolds ever spending up. You might get Palacios for 2,600. Then you've got the Braves guys who it just seems like at least two of them seem to hit home runs every day. Sheets. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think this is an interesting game to maybe target. I have Atlanta and Pittsburgh for, more pieces than the stack. All right. Next up, we have the Texas and Oakland, right?
Yep.
All right. So I'll jump in real first just to change things up. Travis Duarte, before we ever got to this game, when we were on our first game, he said, "So you guys are on Montgomery." I have no idea what the hell that means. We haven't even mentioned Montgomery yet. But yes, I'm going to be on Montgomery because of the lack of options on the slate. Is it my favorite thing to pay $9,400 for Jordan Montgomery? No. It's Oakland. It's $9,400 on a slate where I really don't like pitchers. So I am going to play some Jordan Montgomery. I totally understand getting to Texas, especially because of how bad the bullpen is. But as Goldie pointed out at the start of the season, and many of us have sort of caught on to that, maybe Paul Blackburn is a little better than we think, and he certainly has been that way lately since the All-Star break. So I am open to Texas, but I have them rated a little bit ahead of the other, the Baltimores. I have them, a little behind the Toronto, Baltimore, and Dodger range. And I like Montgomery a lot, even though he's going to be fairly chalky, just because we don't have that many options. If I can find some other guys, I'll probably try to get to Senga and Snell, but I'm okay with using Montgomery because of the matchup.
Yeah, I currently have 6 pitchers that I'm looking at as being decently projected, and Montgomery is one of them. Nothing particularly exciting. It's going to be 25% owned and doesn't exactly have the greatest ceiling in the world. He's a play. He's kind of a play. I was going to bring up what you discussed before about how you and Goldie, I guess you were on Blackburn being on the improve like before anybody else did. So that was a good take. And that probably is going to temper my love for the Texas side. I do have Texas rated pretty high, but they are expensive, and you're going to have to pay $6K for paying $6K for Seager is not the end of the world. 6,400. I mean, I'd rather play $6K if you want to know the truth, but then you have Simeon. He's going to 5,800. What's going to be kind of the tricky thing, or like I would say the sucker play, or what people are going to be doing, especially when they run optimizers, they're going to end up playing a whole bunch of this Evan Carter guy at 2K. He's probably going to hit ninth, and
I want to give a heads up. I really don't think there's any way that happens. I just think that when these guys are 2K and they look like that early in the day, you're going to have 7 other guys in September that are in the 2Ks that are going to pop up. So I just don't think it's going to happen.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah. So I would want to avoid doing that. I definitely wouldn't want to play him as a one-off or anything like that. I don't know. So that is one of the things that's going to make the Texas stack, I think, look good, just because you throw a 2K guy in there. So I don't know. So if you do play the Texas stack based on like numbers and stuff, you're going to end up with a 9-hitter. You just are. I think. But we'll see. But you don't have to play. That's what I'm saying. Whether you hand build or use RGHQ or Saberson, whatever, you don't feel like playing Carter, just freaking X him out. You could still make your lineups work. I mean, you got a freaking 8,200 Kikuchi and $5,500 Severino. You can play whoever you want on the slate. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to play anybody, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, I think Texas is fine. They'll probably be pretty efficiently owned. I don't think you get any big sense of leverage playing them, but they're certainly decent.
Yep. I do think that again, we'll see where Carter hits if he even plays. Texas is right in the thick of a playoff race here, and we don't really know what they're going to do. But I just think that he's going to look like it because he's going to project as Goldie's got him at 6% for what it's worth. Like I don't see this as a real thing. If he ends up higher in the order, he's going to be monstrously owned. Well, monstrously probably meaning like 10%, but you're going to have guys like Eduardo Escobar is like 2,400 hitting, 4th, 5th now. There's just going to be guys in weird spots that we probably can't predict yet tonight, just because it's September baseball and we see it every night. By the way, F the Angels. I'm just really irritated. They released their lineup at like 9:30 Eastern time for a 9:48 game, just 18 minutes before the game. It was really, really nuts. Anyway, or something like that. It was maybe a little bit before. All right, Sheets, let's talk about the Mets and Twins here. This is going to be Senga is I personally have Senga as, I guess he's my second favorite option. Well, I guess he's my favorite. I guess he's my favorite option. I guess that's fair enough to say. And it was my favorite spend up, I should say. I don't love it either. He's a wide range of outcomes guy, but he's been really good lately. And Minnesota struggles and strikes out a lot against righties. The problem is, it's just, I don't know. For some reason, I haven't played as much Senga this year. He's actually been good. Like I said, lately he's been really, really good, or really consistent. But I don't know. I just, for some reason, I'm a little hesitant, and maybe I shouldn't be. I think Senga is my favorite spend up, but I'm open to hearing anything from you. That's really, really the weird part is I feel like I would want to play the Mets here, and it's really shocking to see their run total, their projected run total. They have the same projected run total. This game is they both have 4.5 run totals. And Keuchel has pitched well in 2 of his 5 starts and been terrible in the other ones. I'm really not sure why the Mets aren't showing up as a little bit of a better play. Not great hitting weather in Minnesota, but I guess I might force in some Mets. What about you here?
Well, okay. Let me do the hitting first. I agree with that. Was a little bit, I would say shocked. It's whatever. It's stupid DFS, but I was expecting to see the Mets as much higher projected, much higher owned, and I just presume that whenever Keuchel's pitching, the opponent is chalk. That's just what I just always presumed was going to happen. I'm actually not giving up on that conclusion. I think that at the end of the day, that's what people are going to do, and they are going to go back to the Mets, and certainly makes sense, yet on the other hand, and you have to have this discussion every day that the Braves play, which means every day, guys that are that can pitch the ball who are 5K are just always going to be in play, because to get to this new pricing model of these players at 6,500, 6,800 or whatever it is, you're going to need to pay down at pitching and not even worry about what the scores are. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I mean, not that this is the perfect example, but last night you even mentioned, like, you played down for Rodon. He had negative, but who cares? It got you access to these
Dodgers
guys,
and Braves together, yeah.
That could put up freaking 40 points from the second base position, whatever. Who cares if you're -3 pitching? You know what I'm saying? So all these guys like Keuchel are just going to be in play every day. That you have these $6,500 hitters that you feel like getting to. So it's ugly, it's gross, obviously, but depending on how many lineups you play, it's certainly an option. But Mets certainly makes sense. I just have Senga as another of my 6 guys. I don't have him particularly better or worse than anybody else. We'll get to another guy in a minute that will hopefully break the tie, maybe not, who knows. But yeah, Senga's fine. And I play both sides of the Mets-Minnesota matchup. I wouldn't play Keuchel, but if I got to him, I wouldn't X him out. And listen, if you were hand building and you wanted to stack the Mets, there's certainly no reason for me to argue with you.
Yeah, something's fishy here, and I kind of think I'm gonna probably force in the Mets a little bit here. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
But for what it's worth, maybe part of the reason, I mean, Minnesota's bullpen has been awesome, so maybe there's that. That's a reason not to play them, I guess. That would be the main one. All right, so now we got the pitching matchup in Houston. Snell and Hunter Brown. No one's going to play Snell. I'm in. I don't have him as my top-rated guy. The projections look like a joke. I am totally in. I am going to play Blake Snell tonight as long as these ownerships are correct. So I also have interest in Hunter Brown. So I like both sides of the pitching in this one. Didn't like a lot of the pitching earlier on. That these guys are both good to me, and I like the ownership. I think that Hunter Brown, you do run into like some potential. How much could they use him? And we've seen him limited at times. But I actually think that this is a good enough spot for both of them. I know Houston's been much better in just punishing the ball lately, but like I don't care. I believe in the Snell talent, and when Snell isn't popular, we've seen him dominate really, really good teams as well. I have no problem with playing Snell here, even though the projections don't like him.
Yeah, I'll root for you. I'm just kind of off of the whole thing. Pitchers are good, the hitters are good. I just think it just sort of cancels, and I'm just gonna kind of root against it, the whole thing. Hope for like a 5-3 or something like that, and where you don't get the good Snell, but you don't get the bad Snell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And hope that fading the 10-8 Snell doesn't lead to the 35, which is out there.
Yeah.
Which is and again the top guys I think for Houston. Well, not the top guys, but Tucker and Alvarez, they can strike out 3 times each in this game. It's very possible. So Snell has a ceiling. Certainly, you can get worked by Alex Bregman, making him throw 100.
Blake Snell has been the most consistent pitcher in baseball this season. I know that sounds crazy. We've talked about things in the past, and I know you want to use larger sample sizes. He's been the most consistent pitcher in baseball. He's had one bad outing basically the entire season, and that was the second start against Atlanta. Are we just going – to me, it feels like – I don't know. I just can't get over the fact that it feels like it's a mistake to just like overrate Houston this massive way, especially when their best hitters are left-handed. And I know Altuve's hot or whatever. It just feels like, God, you played this matchup like a month ago. I feel like Snell's the mega chalk, and now he's going to be 3% owned. I don't know. That's just my feeling. I didn't really want to fight about it. I just wanted to like get into like a debate because I feel like I'm going crazy when I see guys like this who I thought Snell was going to be like low owned, like 15% or something on this, like 10 or 15%. I'm seeing him at like 2 or 3%, and he's been the best pitcher by far on this slate. He's definitely the most consistent pitcher. Just feels weird.
Well, if you play him, like who are you going to use for hitting? I mean,
10-8 is not like an expensive price tag. Like there's so much value these days. In September, I don't really factor that in as much. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not like the 12-5 or 12-8 or whatever we paid for Strider at times. 10-8.
I mean, once again, you play Snell with Severino.
Yeah. I mean, I just think we overrate the pitching thing. I've always said this. Like, I don't think you need to, like, there's so much value out there that unless you're stacking Atlanta, which no one seems to be doing anyway today. There's just a slew of guys who are going to be in the 2Ks because it's the September with the rookies and everything playing. I mean, I've got like what 45 guys on the slate who are below 2,500. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It just feels like a spot where.
Not only that, but if you look at my thing here, if you play Snell with Severino, you could do that 5-man Boston stack if you want to do that. I mean, Baltimore stack.
Yeah, sure.
Pretty easily.
I think it's pretty. And if this, I just think it's like because everyone's off of it. I like to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to say that taking the guy who's been the best pitcher on the slate at 3% ownership again in almost any matchup is probably a good idea. That's just my take. I'm going to do a real quick search though, and I didn't look at Snell's how much experience he's had against these guys. I don't think he's had a ton, but he should have had some from also when he was with Tampa Bay. Let me just take a quick look and see what we got for the Blake Snell BVP. Sorry, it's taking a little minute to load, so we can probably move on, but I'll mention it after we start the next game.
Yeah, so Griffin Canning, I thought he was going to play yesterday, but they scratched him for the 4K guy, who pitched pretty freaking well.
Yeah. Wait. No, he didn't pitch well. He pitched an inning and 2/3 and had like 1 fantasy point. No, the other guy who became the mega chalk, and then they switched pitchers again. They switched pitchers twice yesterday.
Oh, okay.
But nobody did anything well. No.
The guy who came in, I thought, did a pretty good job.
I think he had 1 fantasy point.
Maybe not the guy who started there. I want to go back to the box score then because the guy was.
There might have been a relief pitcher who came in.
Yeah, maybe. Let's just see something.
They used an opener. They used their opener guy who pitches 2 innings.
Hang on a minute.
Me and Rody had a whole thing about it in Discord. So.
No, I know, but I just wanted to see what ended up happening because I was hallucinating because I wanted to see what happened. Because there was a guy
pitched well, but nobody who was rostered pitched well.
No, okay. Let me just see. What was yesterday? Scores from today is Thursday, right? No, today's Friday. So yesterday, I want to see who is it that came in for this game. Yeah, I guess. Oh, the Daniel was the guy I was Okay, so Daniel was the guy I was expecting to start. So it's so funny because
3 hours.
Wait. So I was expecting Daniel. Remember, I went out to dinner. I didn't know what the hell happened, right? So I was expecting Daniel to start. I didn't play him, whatever it is. And I came back and I saw that he was in the game, right? And he had put. So funny. It was. This all makes sense. So it was like in the 6th inning, and I saw that he had pitched 66 pitches. So I'm like, wow, he's still in. He's still in. He's almost through 6 innings with 66 pitches. I didn't even realize he didn't start. He didn't come in until like 2 2/3.
He wasn't even like the long guy. He was just a guy they used.
Right, yeah. Right. I thought that he had started the whole time. He was still in the 6th and limited him to only like 1 run, only with no runs in 66 pitches. Yeah. I'm like, what the hell? Okay, all right, fair enough.
Yeah, and by the way, just really quickly to go to the Blake Snell thing while we're doing it. Well, two things I want to mention. One, based on what you just said, before every like major thing locks, and I know it's hard for everybody to do, we are pretty good about like Sharks has done a great job. So shout out to Sharks in our Discord. But I try to do it every time. I was posting all the players who were taken out because that's going to happen with the Angels every day. That's going to happen with a lot of teams in September. So just before some games lock and before you've got a guy who you're using, maybe just try to peek in the Discord as much as you can because we don't want to tag everyone every time this happens because we had like 30 guys who got subbed out the other day. But we do want to, we do try to let you know. We'll let you know every time it happens. We just don't want to tag everybody and send a message to the entire site every time it happens. So we are posting in Discord when these guys are scratched and stuff. So I would just suggest taking a look if you have a chance before lock at least to everybody out there. And for what it's worth, Blake Snell, if you looked at his BVP, you would want to stack Houston.
Good. Keep the ownership.
He's 10 home runs and 92 at bats against him. Jesus, I mean that's like as many issues. That's crazy. And 11 walks. So basically, 27% of the time you're getting a home run or a walk, which is really bad. And on top of it, yeah, they're hitting they have a 380 on base percentage. Not pretty, but it's only 92 plate appearances, but still, that's pretty bad. Maybe I'll talk myself off of Snell.
So, Angels against Cleveland. Yeah, so I have Logan Allen as one of my 6 pitchers. He doesn't exactly strike anybody out. I shouldn't say that. I mean, he's not exactly a strikeout pitcher. Let's put it that way. I just think Kikuchi is better, but then again, maybe you could play both of them. You know, like you say, F the Angels. Let's get them back again by playing Logan Allen. The other thing I would say is that once again, and this is just going to be the case, the way these guys are priced, is that Cleveland shows up as the top value. They just are because everybody's free. That doesn't mean that they are necessarily going to score, but everybody is sort of free. So they are rated as my top overall value. Actually, second, believe it or not, based on just value, is actually Milwaukee, which is kind of interesting. So Cleveland, Allen, and then if Cleveland is going to be rating such a high value, people are going to play. Maybe you take a. Remember, Canning was going to be my Galaxy Brain play yesterday until he got scratched. Maybe he's worth a shot today. I don't know. It seems like Allen or Canning, Cleveland. I don't know. What do you like here?
First of all, I don't buy the Canning thing. I'm not putting any credit to project an early guess of what the Angels are doing. And I also think their lineup could be 10 different guys than what they have right now. But I would just treat the Angels as a minor league organization at this moment, which we kind of have been doing. We probably should keep doing. So I actually think that it's time for the league to start finding them about this lineup thing. Because they do it during the season also, like all season long. They don't just do it in September call-ups or when they're saying they're waiting to see if Ohtani can hit BS. I'm not buying any of this nonsense, and I think that they should start finding – the league needs to start finding them for these lineups coming out 30 minutes, 20 minutes before the game start. Anyway, I have a Logan Allen as one of my guys also because he's facing said minor league team. I do think that, like, you know, look, if for whatever reason their lineup comes out early, which by the way, it means there's probably going to be a couple players who get taken out. 2 of the guys who were in the starting lineup sheets didn't end up playing. You know that, right? They actually they fielded the first inning and they didn't even bat them. So you really can't play Angels. I guess you really can't play Angels hitters is what.
Isn't that great?
Just go after yourself, the whole Angels organization. And I just I just don't want to touch it. I don't want any more of that.
Wait, what did they do? They put him out in the field in the top.
Well, they said Rengifo got hurt, but then I think it was Moniak who also didn't hit. Like, so 2 of their top 4 guys in the lineup didn't bat.
So they put him out in the field for the first inning, and then they didn't bat.
Yeah, and we're out of the game.
Now, did that have anything to do with the pitchers from the other team or no?
Because the pitcher didn't change. It was always Kyle Tucker.
Oh, he didn't. Okay.
It was just, and even if it was, that you're not going to pinch it, you're not going to take out your 2 best hitters without Ohtani and Trout.
That's awesome. I mean, I don't even know what that means. I don't
even know what it is either. It's so bizarre. I know there might have been real injuries, but it's like literally what the guy gets his fingernail scratched or something, and then they take him out of the game. Yeah, I do. Anyway, long story short, I do have a Logan Allen as an option. I don't know how excited I am about it, but that's sort of how I feel about. I have a lot of pitchers, and well, not a lot. I have 7 guys who I'm considering. You're considering, I think, 6. I just don't really love or feel good about any of them, to be honest with you. Maybe you can talk me into something in this last game. So what are you?
Well, let's talk about it, because this is the fun part. What do you do with this dude? The guy throws it. The guy brings the heat. He had great strikeout to walk ratio in the minors. They brought him up for 3 innings, and then he struck out 5 in 3 innings against 3 and such against Philadelphia. Then they ran him at a 6,500, and he just freaking smashed. Okay. And then the very obvious happened after his home opener in front of all his freaking fans, all his people, or whatever it is. Then away we go over to at San Diego, and welcome back to the league. So what do you do, man? He's got the nut matchup. I think this is the guy of all these pitchers that can put up 35. You know what I mean? Like between Montgomery and Senga, whatever it is. He's got the matchup for it. And he's also the lefty, so he's going to get like the 4 strikeouts from Blackman. You know what I mean? Like it's but then on the other hand, maybe where's Eric Johnson to tell me to play Colorado? I don't know. Right now I have Harrison rated. Now this is the interesting point. I have him rated as far as points and stuff like that, the same as Montgomery and Senga. I have him rated the same ownership as Montgomery and Senga, but he's a totally different play. You know what I mean? Like he literally has a range of outcomes between like 0 and 35, where those other two really don't. So I really don't know what to do here. What do you like this play? I mean, would you prefer playing him? I'm not getting any of the hitting here. So what else?
So I do like the play. I do think that though, maybe we don't get we can't like complain kind of a thing, because I do think that there's a range of outcomes of what could happen here, and I don't know. Like it's more leash concerns that I have. It's like a great matchup. I mean, he's 9K, which is expensive, but he still is facing the team with the lowest total on the board. The worst offense on the board, team with nothing to play for. They're in a playoff hunt, though. I could see him struggling and him coming out early. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna propose that if we had a Coors game that we liked and people weren't getting to it, or if we had an Atlanta game where they had like a 7 total, I would be talking about playing Ty Block in this game.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, like, what's the difference between him and the other 5Ks that we talked about?
Well, I don't think the other 5Ks other than Severino are really like plays. I don't think like Keuchel's like a real thing. I think that's you're really like if everything goes perfect. Because Keuchel really doesn't have the ability to strike anybody out. I don't think he struck out more than 3 in a game in like 4 years.
When you get blocked though, what does he struck out? 7
Orioles 2 games ago, and you just said you love dominated the Orioles. Okay. At least we've seen it once, only once, but it happened. I swear it actually happened
against all those righties that I said I was afraid of.
Yeah, I just don't think maybe it's just not the right slate to do that. I think you want to spend in the mid range or upper tier outside of the Severino and Ray in the first game, who would be the only 2 I would want to use, and we might lose that game, for weather risk for pitchers. Maybe the game plays, but for pitchers that looks a little scarier at the moment. So I think the thing I want to do is I think I will just overweight the Harrison. Well, as of right now, I have Harrison with Senga. I actually think Harrison's a better play for upside than Montgomery. I think Montgomery's safer. So Montgomery, Senga, Kikuchi, Harrison will be the main ones, but I will be mixing in some Snell and Brown just on ownership, if nothing else. And then if they're good to go, I think Severino, if we feel comfortable with the weather, I think Severino is a really good option. I think Ray. We have a different. No, yeah, it is Ray, right?
Yep.
It's Colin Ray. I think both of those guys would be the guys I would probably look more towards. Definitely heavier on Severino. Even the Ray thing feels a little thin, but that's if you need to spend down. You really don't need to spend down today, and I think this mid range is probably where you end up. The Kikuchi and Harrison, and I don't know. For me, it's Brown, and then if you want to spend all the way up, I do think Senga and Snell are fine. But I feel very iffy with this whole slate. It feels very shaky to me. I have the Dodgers. I'm sorry, I have Toronto, Baltimore, and the Mets being my favorite stacks right now, and the Dodgers just behind them. Then I want to get some Atlanta and Texas in larger field stuff. So that's what
I did a SaberSim build offsite before we came on here. I just want to show you what it looks like. Based on the original projections we have right now, we have Cleveland as the top team, followed by the Mets and Baltimore. So two of those we definitely talked about. And as far as the pitchers go, we would get to actually more of a spend up situation like Senga, Logan Allen, Kyle Harrison. Not really getting down to too much of the cheapos, but the big omission, which again, it's more of it's an additional testament to how low owned he's going to be is the Blake Snell. Like SaberSim, and I by definition, most of the optimizers not going to get to him because he's not projecting well. So he's going to show up as a very, very low own. And if you could have the, not the fortitude, but if you have the time to like structure your lineups properly, that you can afford him. You know what I mean? I'm kind of into this idea, I mean, like how great are all these other options?
Right.
As far as pitching goes, I don't know.
That's where I'm at, and we just nobody else to be excited about. And the guy can get there for you, But there are, I mean, like I don't think he's like a lot. Like if you're playing cash, obviously you're not even considering this. This is just it's a tournament play. But the thing that's cool is like you have a tournament play with the guy with the highest upside off the slate. So it's kind of always nice to have that guy.
I'll tell you who what team I think I kind of want to take a shot on. This is depending on how ownership kind of plays out and how groupthink works. It's not as big of a deal on Friday because people just kind of like just disappear on Fridays. Yeah. But if this Severino play to get to the Atlanta, like whatever, gets a little more steam than it does already, maybe the Brewers are not the worst idea in the world. Now again, you have to watch the weather in this game.
Yeah, I like that. I actually like that point. If the Severino thing steams, I think that's a reasonable argument. We've only seen 2 good starts out of him, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely see the case for both sides of that.
And considering they did let him throw 100 even when he was getting rocked a little bit. That's kind of what you want. Because the Yankees do have a good bullpen. You'd rather have the weak starter who's like struggling to get through the innings than getting the Yankee bullpen.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we were fumbling. I was fumbling a little bit through some of that one because I'm struggling with the slate. But we'll be live with you at 6 Eastern. I will have my content up a little bit later today. We're revamping some things on the site, so I'm going to start posting back on the site again, and I'll let you guys know in Discord. But we want to get you guys used to start using the site as it's a little better for the functional use for you guys than it has been. Sheets, anything else before we get out of here?
Nope.
All right. Good luck, everybody, and we'll see you guys at 6 Eastern.
All right. See you.